A common question I get goes something like this. Coach Greg, I've got a tempo run scheduled for next week in my training plan, but my running group is going to go to the track and do a speed workout. Is it okay for me to swap those workouts? Do the speed workout instead of the tempo run? So in this video, I thought I would present to you my 3 rules for swapping workouts. Let's take a closer look. Now the first rule is if the workout is in the same training zone, that's a green light. You can go ahead and swap that workout. And when I talk about training zones, if you use the Macmillan running calculator, put in your information, hit calculate my paces, you're going to see all of your training paces listed. And I break those into 4 different training zones: endurance training, stamina training, speed training, sprint training, and then I also list your goal pace up here at the top as well. So those are the training zones: endurance, stamina, speed, and sprint. So in this case, if somebody was going to swap a workout that's in the same zone, it's no problem. That's a green light. You can go ahead and do that. Here's an example. Let's say in your training plan, you're scheduled to do a steady state run, but your running group is going to do cruise intervals, and you wonder if you can swap those workouts. Because they are both in the same zone, the stamina zone, it's perfectly fine. You don't even have to think about it. Just go ahead and make that swap. Now, will the workouts be slightly different? Of course. A continuous steady state run is a different workout than cruise intervals, which are shorter intervals at kind of a medium effort with short recoveries. But they're in the same zone, so they're kind of working the same system, if you will. And so in that case, I say that's a green light. You can feel free to swap those. The other situation where you've got a green light is for goal pace running. So anytime you want to make a swap to a goal pace workout, that's a green light. Go ahead and swap. You don't even have to think about it. Now let's take a look at rule number 2. Rule number 2 is for when the 2 workouts are in adjacent training zone. That's a yellow light. We can do it, but we have some considerations. And this is what I was talking about when I mentioned that sample question that I get a lot. Hey coach, I've got a tempo run scheduled in my training plan next week, but my running group is going to go and do a speed workout, maybe 1,600 meter or mile repeats. Is it okay to swap those workouts? This is where it's a yellow light. These zones are adjacent, the stamina zone and the speed zone. In my listing of the 4 training zones, they butt up against one another, so they're adjacent training zones. So in that case, we can make the swap. We just need to think through a few things. Now, the first thing I do is I look ahead in the training plan to see, are there any tempo runs and speed workouts in the future? So for example, in this training plan, in week 7, we can see here's a tempo run. And then 2 weeks later, we can see here's a speed workout. So in this scenario, say the person who has their running group wants to do a speed workout on this day, and he's got a tempo run scheduled. All I would do would be move this tempo run down to week 9, slide this speed workout up to week 7. Perfect. That's a green light because we need to think about it, but we've got a great opportunity because in the training plan, we're just moving workouts around. We're not really changing anything in the sort of types of workouts that you're going to get in the training plan. So that's a yellow. We need to think about it, but it's certainly okay to do. Now let's talk about when it may not be okay to do. Let's say you're training for a half marathon, and let's say that stamina is really your weakness. You really need to improve your stamina. And let's say that you feel like your speed is in a good fitness state leading into this half marathon race. If that was the case, then I probably would not make the swap, because I want you to get the stamina training. That's what you feel you need. More speed, you already feel like you have good speed. So in that case, again, it's yellow because we pause, and I would probably say don't do the swap. That's one of those scenarios where you're better off kind of sticking to your plan because the plan is working on the things you need for your upcoming race. Now, another scenario where you actually should make the change, let's say you are training for a half marathon, you need both stamina and speed, but let's also say that you're a speedster type runner, and so these stamina workouts like a tempo run, those are kind of tough on you, and you're feeling a little tired, maybe unmotivated, and the thought of going out and doing a tempo run, a workout that maybe you're not great at, isn't very exciting. So in that case, I would say go ahead and make the switch, because the speed workout will probably be something to sort of get you motivated. You'll get excited about it. It's a workout that fits your runner type, your speedster type. You enjoy those, and that could be just what you need in this phase of training. So again, with these workouts that are in adjacent training zones, it's a yellow light. We just pause and we think about it. If you can swap things around in your training plan, then that's great. That's easy to do. If you really need to work on one aspect of your fitness, but the other workout is sort of in the other zone that you really don't need that much work on, then maybe you shouldn't make the swap. Or maybe there is just that case where you just want to do it. It sounds fun. It'll get you excited and motivated. If that's the case, you should go ahead and make that swap, because again, being excited and motivated about your training is just as important as the exact workouts that you're doing. Now let's take a look at rule number 3. Rule number 3 is when the two workouts are in zones that are far apart from each other. So we just talked about the same zone, which was rule number 1, and then we talked about zones that butt up against each other, the adjacent zones, in rule number 2. This is rule number 3 where they're not connected together. So again, here's an example. We've got a steady state run. Let's say that's in your calendar. That's a stamina zone workout. But say your buddies want to go to the track and do some 400 meters in the sprint zone. So obviously the stamina zone and the sprint zone, those are far apart. They don't touch each other. That's a red light. You probably don't want to make that switch, because that is a significant change from what is in your training calendar. Now again, if you look forward in the plan and you can see, oh, I've got a sprint workout coming in the future, yes, you can make that swap. But just to take out a workout like a steady state run that has a logic behind why it's in your training plan and put in a sprint workout, that's probably something that you would not want to do. That said, again, if you're in a situation where you're feeling a little burned out, you're not motivated, you really need something to kind of give you a kickstart, you love going to the track with your buddies, you love doing sprint workouts, then maybe in that case you would make that swap. Again, that's more for the mind than it is for the body. So I really look at this rule number 3 as a red light. You probably should not make that switch. And the only caveat to it is if you are kind of needing that little jolt, needing a sort of some excitement in your training, and you know it won't negatively affect your upcoming training, but will probably boost your excitement. So those are my 3 rules for swapping workouts. I think it makes it really easy for runners to feel confident when they are making the swap. And again, if it's in the same zone, green light, go ahead and swap. If it's a goal pace workout, you can always swap for a goal pace workout. If it's an adjacent zone like the stamina and speed that we talked about, that's a yellow light. You can do it, just put some thought into it. If two workouts are in training zones that are far apart, that's a red light. You probably don't want to do that. It would be only special cases where it would be a good idea to make that swap. I've used kind of this zone system, this green, yellow, red system for a long time with athletes. I think it really helps them feel empowered to make necessary changes in their training plan as life kind of comes up. I really hope that helps you. As always, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you again real soon.